I don't care, folks. The curse is over. Yes, the Toronto Raptors just lost a heartbreaking game, but we witnessed a masterclass from Scottie Barnes and swatted the heck out of LeBron James to end his over 1,000-game streak of 10-plus points. But this game was an absolute whirlwind, and even despite the result, these are exactly the type of games you want to see the Toronto Raptors play in, fight in, and compete in. And while, of course, there's no Luka Doncic, no RJ Barrett, and Jakob on our side, this was an absolute just insane performance for both teams out here in this game. Lots of crazy storylines. I'm treating it as a win because we saw Scottie Barnes go head-to-head with LeBron James. And yes, LeBron is 40-plus years old. Yes, all those types of things. He was not fazed, and he had a generational moment for Raptors fans. Yes, I'm going to dive into this game. I'm going to talk about it all. But LeBron James in this one ended up having, so he has like over 1,000 straight games of 10-plus points, and tonight ended with 8, 6, and 11. Still a solid performance, but the Raptors defense had him fairly clamped down. Scottie Barnes is to, be appreciated for a lot of that defense, but at the end of the game, LeBron James, you could tell, was forcing a couple possessions here or there, tried to drive in, do one of those LeBronto fades over Scottie Barnes, and Scottie was having none of it. One of the most disrespectful blocks in NBA history, and ended that 1,000-game streak. And it's poetic. It's deserved. That streak needed to end in Toronto. It needed to end after the years of just heartbreak that this guy caused. Forget to our fan. To me, I felt some redemption. I felt some rejoice out there watching the screen. Now, we lost the game. Rui Hachimura ripped my heart out after that. But after I saw that block, I was feeling fairly good. But Scottie Barnes deserves a ton of praise for his performance in tonight's game against the LA Lakers, because the Raptors lost this one. If you didn't see, I'll break down Scottie's points and all that. But basically, the Toronto Raptors lost this game 120 to 123, and it was close. The Lakers had the kind of tied of this game very early on, but the Raptors, especially led by Scottie Barnes, were able to bring this thing back. And you have to show some love out there to Scottie in this one, because he was magnificent on both ends of the court. If we take a look at his stats, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, nearly a triple-double, knocked down 5 of 6 free throws, had 3 blocks in this game. Scottie Barnes is sneaky one of the best shot blockers in the entire NBA. You can look at his overall season averages, and he has just been magnificent, right? Like right now, in terms of he's 11th in the NBA in block shots per game, which is insane for someone that's not playing the center position. You can see his efficiency. You can see his all-around scoring. Basically everything. Scottie Barnes is in the green, in the upper echelons out there in the entire NBA, which is just a testament to his development, a testament to him being an all-star caliber player this season. And my one criticism, there's a few criticisms I'm going to bring up, but Darko Rajaković has been on a coaching masterclass this entire year. Don't get me wrong. I thought he coached a fairly strong game out here in this one. We'll talk about his adjustments and moves with Jamison Battle in the fourth quarter. Darko's been doing a lot of great stuff over the course of this season, especially without much depth at the center position. But one decision I would have liked in play calls, and whoever makes these decisions, I'm assuming it's Darko or whatever, but Scottie Barnes deserved the ball in his hands more down the stretch of this game. I know we have Brandon Ingram as a closer, and early on in this game, Brandon Ingram was playing fairly well, but it was clear Scottie Barnes was more locked in, more ready to go, creating more plays when the ball was in his hands, whether he was scoring or facilitating. Scottie Barnes had it going a lot more, so the last 4 possessions of this game, it was really ran through Brandon Ingram, who didn't have a horrific game by any stretch of the imagination, but one thing, so 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, solid stuff, 0-6 from the three-point line. One thing I did notice about Brandon Ingram, I've been noticing this a ton as of late since RJ Barrett's gone down. I don't know if it's effort, because he's slashing, he's being aggressive, and by no means seems to be like a locker room cancer. That's not what I'm saying, but the energy just hasn't been where it was 2 weeks ago out there for Brandon Ingram on the offensive end and defensive end. I see him walking up the court a little bit more than, running to your spot and be able to start offense, because, if you're just wasting 4 or 5 seconds out there in the shot clock, it's going to affect how things are going out there on the offensive end. Brandon Ingram's just kind of slowly moving to his spot. I know elite scorers, they can be slow, methodical, and all that, but that's not what we were seeing from Brandon Ingram just 2 weeks ago. And I think it's affecting his game. Again, not super efficient game for him tonight, missing a lot of his three-point shots. Again, I'm not sure if that's playing a factor, but also the defensive end. Last few games, there's just been moments where, he's swiping at balls rather than moving his feet and getting his chest in front. There was a couple times where he missed the box out, and then guys like Jake LaRavia came in and got those moments. Brandon Ingram put on some muscle. It looked like he still looks in phenomenal shape this season compared to where he was in previous years. He's never been fat or anything like that, but he's too skinny. But the slim frame of Brandon Ingram's got some muscle on it, and just 3 weeks ago, the Raptors were rolling. Brandon Ingram just felt like there was a little bit more oomph to his game. So looking for that a little bit. Yeah, again, I'm not coming out here criticizing a guy that put up 27 and 7, but for a dude that's especially supposed to be your top 2 guys, Brandon Ingram, I think, can be playing a little bit better because that's what we've seen previous years. Again, previous games. With RJ Barrett out, it's more pressure. More of the defense is going to be focused in and locked in on you than other players. So I get that. I get how that can be tiring, frustrating, whatever it might be. But Brandon Ingram, not saying it, putting the loss on him by any stretch of the imagination, but something to really look at. If we want to throw the loss on someone, it's not someone on the Toronto Raptors in this game. It is a guy in the LA Lakers who, in Austin Reaves, 44 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists. And to be honest, the Raptors played some good defense. The refereeing was just so aggravating because, yes, those little touch fouls could be called fouls and the Raptors are jumping at stuff, but it is so aggravating to watch someone play basketball like that. But I mean, it is a skill to play fast and get people to bite on pump fakes. We saw it with DeMar DeRozan for years at this point. So again, Austin Reaves put on a masterclass in that area, but I've always said I'll never complain about it after watching DeMar do it to other teams for years. But I don't know. It was just, he was ripping our hearts out every single possession, Austin Reaves was, and give credit where credit's due. He had a phenomenal game. It was tough to watch as a Raptors fan, but that is what it is. One interesting coaching adjustment as well regarding Darko Rajaković, which I think, again, it's going to sound crazy coming from me because, of course, I'm the biggest Jamal Shed fan there is. And I don't think he had a horrible game by any stretch of the imagination, but the refereeing, you have to adjust with what's going on. And Jamal Shed in this one was getting called for a lot of those fouls because he plays very aggressive defense, right? So that is something that you do have to understand. You do have to, take a look at. And he got the matchup, especially during closing time, out there on Austin Reaves. Got picked up with a couple fouls and then, had to play off him a little bit. I thought Jakob Walter and, Shed had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. Wasn't a bad game by Shed. I don't mind the decision, him playing down the stretch. But Jakob Walter had a fantastic game in this one. 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists for Jakob. Only played 25 minutes. I thought he played a very, very strong game out there. Again, as strong as you can for a guy in Austin Reaves that's averaging like 30 points per game in his own right. But I thought Jakob did a very good job out there in this game, playing defense, getting to his shots. He's a bit more size than Jamal Shed, so, could finish in the lane. I thought Jakob Walter probably could have been the guy to close this game over Jamal Shed, even though I know those Jamal Shed and Immanuel Quickley lineups do add an extra dimension in terms of playmaking and other stuff out there on the court. So that's one thing just looking at, Darko Rajaković, I think could have been tweaked, could have been adjusted. Again, I think he did a really good job, and to give him praise, there was a stretch because I've been calling for this. I want Jamison Battle to get some extra run, get some extra minutes and stuff with what he's able to provide. And there was a few minutes where Jamison Battle was out there on the court, didn't do anything wrong. He was hustling on defense, but didn't do anything right. And even in my head, I was like, okay, no, I like Jamison Battle's out there, but you probably get one of the other guys back in. And Darko, there's a timeout called, and I assumed he'd get subbed out. Battle would, but Battle's back out there on the court, and then really dominated the fourth quarter, so to speak. Like 10 points, 4 or 5 shooting from the field, 1 of 2 from the three-point line. One of them was a very, very close 3, which, again, would have been a nice one to go down. But Jamison Battle is trying out there on the defensive end. He looks strong. He's making some beautiful back cuts out there in these games, and he's just such a threat from behind the three-point line. There's a reason why the Raptors are positive plus-minus out there with him on the basketball court, and I was just impressed with his stretch during the most important stretch of this game. Subbed out with like 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but I liked that they utilized Jamison Battle during that stretch. Probably would have had, Jakob Walter out there on the court, or ran some more of Immanuel Quickley and then Jakob Walter out there in the game, but I don't know. It's tough to manage rotations. You got so many pieces, so many guys out there on your team. It is what it is. But overall, the Raptors just played a really phenomenal performance in this one. Honestly, looking at this entire Raptors team, it's very few guys you could criticize in terms of their overall performance. I mean, Mamu, missed a few shots, but still had 13, 8, and 5, some beautiful passes, a couple weird turnovers, missed a rebound at the end, but that is what it is. Colin Boyles in just 16 minutes of action had 12 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. The guys, the shifty players out there on the basketball court for the LA Lakers, they were kind of getting the best of the Rook at times because we know Colin Murray-Boyles is elite out there on the defensive end, but it's sometimes you get those shifty pump fakes and stuff. They'll draw you into fouls. They'll draw you into those crafty moves that other players can run. But he was solid out there. Immanuel Quickley had a very good game. He's been playing very, very well as of late as well. 5 of 9 shooting from the field. Not the craziest of box score games, but knocked down 2 3-point shots and didn't do anything over the top. Didn't do anything bad. I think he played a lot better game than the box score would kind of indicate out here now at this point. And even got some Jonathan Mobo in this one, which was in some interesting run. He was hustling. He was giving effort out there. Didn't do anything crazy, but I did think he was a negative when he was out there on the basketball court. And Gradey also got a limited run out there in this game. 16 minutes, 8 points, knocked down 2 3-point shots. Was struggling attacking. He got bailed out on at least one of those drives where he was going in a bit out of control, but then got to the free throw line. I don't know. Gradey Dick, it's going to be interesting to see these developments because Jakob Poeltl once again overtook him out here in terms of performance and impact out there in this game. But the last thing that I will bring up out there in this one is, of course, A.J. Lawson. He was called up. He was on the roster. Didn't get any opportunity. Didn't get any run. I mean, lots of the wings were playing well, so I guess it makes sense. But, we'll still have to wait for A.J. Lawson to get his opportunity to get his run. Now, the Toronto Raptors, again, the Eastern Conference is absolutely jam-packed. We fall back to the 3rd seed or tied for the 3rd seed out there in the Eastern Conference, back with the New York Knicks. You still have a half game up there on the Miami Heat. The Boston Celtics are making a little bit of a run out there in the East as well. So we'll see how those things play out. The Sixers won a tough one against the Warriors tonight. There's, and the Cavs, surprisingly, have fallen right to the 8th seed. So, again, the Raptors cannot get comfortable. They cannot, take this loss easily and be like, oh, it's happy-go-lucky. We've lost 3 of our last 4 games. I don't think we've played horrible down that stretch. The Knicks game was pretty bad, but other than that, the Raptors have been very, very good. But now you got to get revenge against the Hornets tomorrow night. That is very, very important. You play the Celtics out there on Sunday, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Nets. Those Wizards should be gettable games. You want to be able to get a little streak going in order to stay atop the Eastern Conference. That's what you need. You don't want to fall into the playing picture. You want to create separation amongst those other teams out there in the East. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.